All right. And hello there, Mike McVaugh from HDR. How are you?
Doing good today. Thank you.
Good. Thanks for being here with us.
Happy to be here.
So tell us a little about you, your organization, what you guys are up to.
So Mike McVaugh with HDR. We're an engineering architectural firm.
Okay.
Originally, we started in 1917 in Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
And our primary focus when we started was to support transportation and infrastructure for the rural parts of Nebraska.
Okay.
So that's our bread and butter where we started.
Yeah.
And so just recently, HDR hired me after 28 years with Colorado Department of Transportation
Okay.
to help expand our market into the western slope of Colorado and rural Colorado.
Okay. And so you said you were with CDOT for 28 years?
Yes.
And how long have you been with HDR?
I've been 1 year.
1 year?
1 year. Started during the pandemic.
I would say right at the best time possible. You got into it.
Yep.
And how's that going?
It's going really well.
Yeah.
Going really well right now. For me, my focus is really trying to, build a stronger relationship with people to support rural Colorado and particularly in the western slope. Doing work in Montrose County right now with a new signal just south of Montrose.
Okay.
We're also doing a big reconstruction project with CDOT through the city of Grand Junction. We've got a bridge structure up on State Highway 13. So that's a lot of the transportation stuff.
Right.
But we also have the architectural side where there's some other work that I'm working on right now that I have a non-disclosure agreement, unfortunately.
We can't get into here.
But it's a very big development that is going to be a public facility for people. And it's got a just incredible, this isn't your normal development. It is for public purpose. And we have a great philanthropist that really wants to do this work. And it's something that's going to really, kind of change the face of things when this comes on. And
yeah.
I'm really excited because I get to do more than just transportation now.
Right.
I'm reaching out and doing other things like this development that's going to help the public.
Yeah. Now, does HDR typically do mostly like industrial type stuff?
Like our architectural group, they really focus on hospitals and healthcare. And they do a lot of work in that area. But we also do power. We do energy. We do solar. It's very, very broad. And HDR is an employee-owned company.
Okay.
Over 10,000 employees worldwide.
Wow.
But in Colorado alone, we have over 500 employees in Colorado. Okay.
And so, worldwide, I mean, how many countries are we in?
Oh my goodness! You asked me a tough question. I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't have the total number of companies, but we're in Germany, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Australia. Recently, I did a webinar with our counterparts in Australia, and that was really weird because we're talking to them at 9:30. It's 9:30 at night here in Colorado, 8 a.m. in the morning.
Right.
So, but it's worldwide.
Yeah.
We do a lot of Department of Defense work where some of the things we're doing right now is just helping them with their housing situations. A lot of these military bases have housing from the 70s, and they need upgraded. They need improved. They're really in bad shape.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of work in that area also. So it's amazing the level of expertise and how broad our expertise is.
Right. I mean, it sounds like you guys are in a little bit of everything architecturally.
Yes, architecturally, engineering-wise also.
Yeah.
So, but we do power transmission lines. We do the transportation side of things, water and wastewater. So water treatment plants, wastewater treatment plants.
Yeah.
Just kind of construction services. So we also help people with construction. But then we also have another group that we help write grants for people. And we can do economic evaluations and analysis because a lot of times for federal grants, you got to show what that 20 or 50-year benefit's going to be if you get the grant. So we actually have teams of people and economists that help us do that work.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is quite a variety of interests.
It's very, very broad. Yes.
So, I mean, and you touch on a lot of stuff that's near and dear to our hearts with Action 22, the water issues, the energy issues, the things we talk about all the time. Why is rural Colorado really important? How do you see it as important for what HDR is doing?
I think it's because we really want to help people. And that goes back to our beginnings. The beginning was, rural Nebraska, farmers, ranchers out there, they didn't have electricity in 1917. They didn't even have good roads in 1917.
Sure.
So it was, how do we help them? How do we make their world, their life better?
Right.
And that's what HDR is about.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's impressive. I have no idea, just the portfolio that you guys have
It's broad. It's very broad. It's even, what was really interesting is I was looking before we sat down today and looking at all the different types of projects we do. And we even do work in Antarctica.
Wow.
So it's broad.
Yeah.
It's really broad.
So what are some of the biggest challenges you're facing? Let's focus on that rural Colorado piece. What are some of the things that you're trying to get over?
I think the biggest thing right now, and coming from CDOT and my knowledge at CDOT and watching things over the years, is rural broadband. That's huge. That is one of the biggest things for rural Colorado right now. Really trying to build that up and help to get those connections made where, people can be more active, more functional with the world.
Right.
And it also helps build business. It builds economy. It really helps strengthen outside of those metro areas.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and of course, we get in those rural areas. We talk a lot about, equity with that infrastructure.
Yep, equity is huge because, it's like trying to swing a baseball bat with one arm. It just doesn't work.
Uh-huh.
And so you got to have that balance. You got to have those elements that come in there because not everybody's going to move to the city or be in the city, or that business doesn't fit in the city. Right. You still got to have those rural aspects that help support the overall good for everyone.
Yeah, and I think like the adoption rate is interesting. I mean, a lot of these rural communities, certain issues, they don't want to be early adopters to. They don't want to embrace that right away. There's
that, and then there's also the how do I do it? That fear of I've never done it before. How do we get there? So, the early adopter, or can you show me that pathway of how to get there and what's the best way to do this? And a lot of this, and what I've seen in the rural parts, is it is actually communities and different cities and counties coming together to find a solution because they can't do it on their own.
Right. No, it's absolutely building out that network of, interested parties. Obviously, that's what we're all about with Action 22, Club 20, Pro 15. Yep. That's a big partnership because people honestly are a lot more moderate in general than maybe we're led to believe. And we all have the same values at the end of the day. We
do. And we want to make sure everybody's successful. We want to help each other and make sure that we can find our way and really try to bring these things together. And that's where, for me, I'm with HDR, but I'm also on the transportation committee for Club 20.
Okay.
So, I look at it from how do we try to improve things for everyone,
Right.
And it really plays out that way. I mean, you start thinking about the rural parts of Colorado, people think of I-70 in the Western Slope. That's a major artery.
Sure.
When that artery goes down, are the other roads ready for it?
Yeah.
We gotta look at those things. And in those small towns, when they get overrun because of that happening, how do they adapt to it? How do they help people and take care of people? Being more collaborative and building this together is what we need to do. Yeah, that collaboration piece is huge. Yep. And actually that's kind of the wheelhouse, I think, for a lot of rural communities. They understand that community piece, having all those things in common and driving the same direction. I think that's why I love still living in Durango myself, because the community it's much stronger. You feel it, you see it, and that's where I think that's what the value of rural Colorado brings. Yeah, and that's the thing where people recognize that whether you grew up in a rural environment or not, that small town community, like you feel it. You internalize that a little bit. Yep. So what are you guys most excited about working on this coming year? Oh. Well, I guess let me back that for you. For you, being with HDR during the pandemic, starting that way, you have a year under your belt. What are you excited for this next year, and what should we look forward to? I think the biggest thing I'm excited for right now is, we've got a lot of federal funding coming to the states right now. Mm-hmm. And what is that going to look like? Where is it going to go? Because there's still all these formulas that are being worked out for greenhouse gas reductions or transportation, or, we just sat through a conversation on housing and education. Where's that funding going to go, and how can we help people to get to what they need to with that funding? Right. So there's a lot of unknowns right now because we're still trying to figure that out. For me, being a transportation person, CDOT was thinking they were going to have their funding formula figured out and what that funding would be for future projects. Well, that's now just been put off till about June. Uh-huh. So, everybody's on that ready, and that's where we're at. We're ready to really try to step up and help people. So when that project that they didn't have funding for and this new funding comes forward, they finally have a chance to do it. We want to be there to help them with that.
Yeah. When you guys, I mean, you have a lot of avenues you can explore, go down to do that, to help out.
And I think that's the big thing about HDR, ask us. We probably have somebody that's been there or done that. We just have such a tremendous resource group that we've probably got somebody that can help in most any situation.
Yeah. Well, I love that word resource. We're the same way. Our organization wants to be a resource for, access to different services, different goods in our communities. But being a resource when it's that wide and broad with HDR, that's really an exciting thing.
It is, and that's probably when you ask me, what's the exciting thing about this? When I started with HDR, I didn't understand this. After a year in, I've got a much better idea now. But boy, it's still bigger than what I totally realized.
Right.
And that's what for me they call it. I'm kind of a cross-sector guy. I do transportation, but I'm doing so much other stuff in different elements. And that's what I love. After 28 years of moving up and being in strong leadership roles my last few years at CDOT, I get to be an engineer again.
Right.
It's awesome.
Right. Well, and I mean, especially, with nonprofits, with small communities, we're talking about a lot of people who know how to wear a lot of hats and want to be involved in kind of everything.
Yeah.
And so it's so great to hear like an organization like yours is out there doing that on a broader scale like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me kind of wrap this up asking you what I don't know what my question was going to be. Sorry, Brian. So actually I was going to ask you too, what changes has COVID what challenges has it placed on your organization, and how do you see that evolving going forward? As obviously we're not looking at an on and off switch with COVID anymore. It's carrying it forward.
The biggest change I think that evolved a little bit, and it's actually helped me with, when HDR said, Mike, we'd like to open an office in Durango.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, going to remote work probably opened more doors for me to be able to stay in Durango, stay in that rural community, stay where I can help people more effectively, and they know they have a resource close by to help them.
Yeah.
And COVID opened those doors for us so that we could do that. And so what we've ended up doing at this point, we have 5 different people right now just on the Western Slope. I'm in Durango. We have a person that's a mine reclamation specialist in Ridgeway. We have a water person that is a specialist in Rifle.
Right.
And then we have a person that came from the Corps of Engineers that is in Grand Junction. And so we have these resources that are closer to where the needs are at so that we can help support people. And I think that opens doors for rural Colorado because HDR is a big company.
Right.
And we have a lot of resources, but because of the remote, what's the right term? The need for virtual engagement is so strong now, and we've refined that.
Right.
We can actually help people better.
Yeah. Wow. It's great to have early adopters, innovative ideas and stuff.
Yep.
So wonderful. Thank you so much. Any last thoughts?
I think it's just, I think it's wonderful that we came together with the Rural Voices of Colorado, Club 20, Action 22, Pro 15, really sitting down to talk through these things and bring everybody together because it is a statewide problem, statewide issues, and having this gathering is really important for us.
Wonderful. Mike, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you,
That's
sir.
awesome.